Welcome back to Tinygrams Games, and I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny video, and today I want to look at the meta coming out of regionals, getting ready for Worlds. Where are we at? Alright, so the most important thing to start with is, I think the meta is wide open. It feels like every deck can win. Obviously that's not true, but there's just so many different archetypes. Every weekend a new deck pops up. For instance, Elite Ayla Padawan Yoda just popped up and did great at an event. I'm going to play that tonight. I want to see it. We've got Anakin Kylo now coming up. Just decks coming out of the woodwork. You have mill, you have vehicles, you have aggressive decks, you have hyper-aggressive decks, you have mid-range decks, you have everything. I dare say it. I'm going to say it. It's the perfect meta. It is a little rock, paper, scissors, which I personally find annoying. Going into an event, there's a lot of like trying to predict how much mill is going to be here, because my deck can beat the following X decks, but it can't beat mill, or maybe it can't beat vehicles, or whatever deck it can't beat, but you can tech in little cards. A little force wave here might help out. It's just such an interesting place to be in the meta. Okay, so that's the one side. On the other side, I think it's easy to look at the meta and say, there are some serious problems. There are a pile of pretty broken cards. So you have cards that are just flat overpowered. I think Ayla is a big one of these. We've seen this. I made a video about it. She's been coming on really strong in the last couple weeks. People have responded and said, Ayla's not that strong. It's that she allows the stronger people to be better. Yeah, I know. That's the whole point of what I'm saying, is that by having your secondary character be this ridiculous, it allows for things like an extra resource with profitable connections, or another really good character. So you have that as a problem. You have Maul Saber, which is just insane. I've made a video about this as well, about how crazy broken this is. You have the problem of not fun cards hanging around. You have running interference, which everyone hates. I mean, I had my buddy John was at a tournament where we had prepared and obviously didn't even know how it worked. We had it confused with coercion and the passing, and it's a problem. People hate playing against it. It can be annoying. It sets up ridiculous combos. Like Never Tell Me the Odds, where you're just like, well, as soon as they draw Never Tell Me the Odds, they just flat lose. This is dumb. But it's not really winning. The last time that card did anything was several weeks ago when my buddy John made the finals. And then you have things like the one-turn kill deck, which I personally think is great. I think it's an interesting deck to have in the meta. A lot of people hate it. So what we have is this situation with tons of broken stuff. Rally Aid, Hyperspace Jump for mill decks. Just basically piles of broken cards all over the place that has somehow settled into the greatest meta this game has ever seen. And so I think what we have to wrestle with is, going into Worlds, what do we do? Do we just kind of put our hands up and go, hey, the meta's awesome, I don't want to touch anything, just let it be, don't adjust the balance of the force, don't adjust any cards, let's just roll into Worlds and see, because I know we have a good meta. Let's take that. I think the other approach is, there's two more approaches. One approach would be to nerf everything, right? To like go through every top deck and hit something from it. Because the scary thing is, if you only hit a couple things, let's say you hit the ultra aggro decks like the Sabine Ezra's, does that open up something else to be totally dominant? And I think that's the fear, right? We don't want to have a Worlds like, I guess maybe not a Worlds, but like a Gen Con last year, where it was like you had to be hyper aggressive. You either ran FN and won, or you ran POMAS and almost won, and those were your only choices. And then after Gen Con, it was like FN only. And I think everyone agrees we don't want a meta like that. So what do? I'm tempted to just say leave well enough alone, but there's one more problem in this. We're not getting a new set till July, so essentially what we would have then is the exact same card pool for the entirety of regional season, and then Worlds as well, which is another issue that a lot of people would look at and say, that's dumb. Why are we just having the exact same card pool for the next major tournament? And normally I would totally agree and say, maybe we should just nerf some stuff just to have a different meta. but I'm not convinced that's a good idea. I really don't want to roll into Worlds and be like, hey, good news, there's one dominant deck. My team found it. Did yours? No? You lost. That's really not that fun of a scenario to be in. And because we have new decks popping up every single week, I don't feel like we're in a solved meta. I don't feel like we're in a stale meta where you're just like, okay, these are the 3 best decks. It's a rock, paper, scissors format. I don't think so. I think people are coming up with new, innovative decks, new, innovative techs to beat what they're perceiving to be the best decks. I feel like it's a really interesting time. And Worlds could actually be like the culmination of this, where people really say, okay, all right, I know regionals I was pretty serious. It's time to get real serious. This is the World Championships. Let's solve this meta once and for all, if it's even possible, because the meta is so diverse. So, bottom line is, I think we have 2 choices, basically. One is we have 3. Leave everything alone. Just let it go. The meta is diverse enough. The other one is hit a couple of cards. Make Ayla +1. Do something to Maul's lightsaber to make it less dominant. If you make Ayla +1, it doesn't really change that much. What it really changes is now you can't use profitable connections. That's really what it is. You can still make this great deck, but now you can't have a guaranteed 3-drop, which actually I think is a huge deal. I'm not saying it's not, to be honest. But I think that's important. So you could hit her, you could hit Maul Saber, and have a fairly minimal impact, or you can go all the way, hit them all, hit all the busted cards, blow the whole thing up, and go like this. Fingers crossed, baby! Let's get a good meta! And maybe FFG is doing extensive testing behind the scenes all day, all night, and they're going to hit X amount of cards to have a different meta, and we'll be satisfied because they'll know what the meta is going to look like. But to be honest, that hasn't really been FFG's track record so far, so even if they were trying to do that, I'm not totally convinced they can come up with this. So, if you're asking me today, yo Tiny, what's your answer? My answer is this. Hands off. Let's do it. Let's see what the geniuses can come up with. Yes, 1-turn kill is amazing. So, pack close quarters assault. Pack some answers for it. Don't just sit there and be like, oh man, he drew his stuff and beat me. Oh, that's the worst. Be ready, right? Sabine Ezra, yes, it's annoying, but it doesn't win all that often. Just be ready for it, tech for it, and beat it. So, I think the meta is fine. I would go so far there as maybe to say perfect. Like, my saying goes like this. If everything's broken, nothing is broken. That's just the new normal, right? If the normal is chaos, then chaos is normal. So that's where we're at. Hopefully, the way I would handle this is going into the next set, I would just nerf all the stuff, ban a million cards, kind of start over. I feel like Legacies is the reboot that we're all waiting for to get to. We're just kind of limping along to get to that spot. And let's be proactive at the start of the next set. For now, leave it alone. The meta looks great. I know it's going to be controversial. I know people hate running interference. I know people don't want to have the exact same card pool. But you know what? It might be the same card pool, but the decks are different every day. If the decks are different every day, it doesn't really matter if the card pool is the same. All right, let me know what you think in the comments below. I know this is kind of a controversial take. Just leave it alone. Back away. But we'll see what you think. Like and subscribe. Remember, I do have the 10K subscriber giveaway coming up very shortly. And I'll see you next time on Tiny Grimes Games.